What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Magomed Ankalaev has finally broken his silence. Recently, fans across the MMA community pointed out that Ankalaev had gone unusually quiet following his loss to Alex Pereira. Before that fight, he was extremely active on X, tweeting constantly and calling out multiple fighters. However, after the defeat, he disappeared completely from social media and did not address the loss at all. Those comments clearly gained traction, either reaching Magomed himself or his manager, Ali Abdelaziz. Just a few days after fans highlighted his absence, Ankalaev returned online and posted, "I'm back. Who you guys want to see me fight next?" As expected, the replies flooded in immediately. Most fans focused less on potential opponents and more on joking that the post was likely written by Ali instead of Magomed. Regardless, it appears the UFC has little to no interest in booking a trilogy fight between Ankalaev and Pereira at this time. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Moving on to another news, Paddy Pimblett addressed the ongoing speculation about a potential fight with Arman. During a recent interview, Paddy expressed his frustration with people claiming that he is ducking Arman, insisting that he was never actually offered the fight in the first place. He said it's annoying that fans keep suggesting he is avoiding Arman when, according to him, he would have already taken the fight and punched his head in if it had been offered. Paddy didn't hold back, calling Arman an absolute helmet and stating that he would fight him in a heartbeat. Paddy also criticized the state of the division, suggesting that if Ilia cannot return by July, the UFC should strip him of the title, as it is slowing down the division. He emphasized that he is ready to defend his position against Arman, Max Holloway, or Charles Oliveira, showing that he doesn't care who the opponent is as long as the fight is made. In a later interview with Main Event TV, Paddy went even further, calling Arman's grappling overrated. He said he hopes to fight Arman eventually so he can shut him up, and described him as a little idiot. Paddy questioned the effectiveness of Arman's grappling, pointing out that if he couldn't submit Sharabullet Lad, a striker with minimal grappling skills, then his grappling can't be that impressive. Before Arman's fight with Dan, Paddy admitted he thought Arman might present a tougher stylistic challenge than Ilia. However, after watching the fight, he changed his mind and stated that Ilia is a much tougher opponent. Paddy's comments show his confidence in his own skills, his willingness to fight anyone, and his eagerness to keep the division active while also calling out fighters he believes are overrated or slowing down the sport. Moving on to another news, Arman fired back quickly after hearing Paddy Pimblett's comments. He jumped onto social media threads and responded without holding back, writing, "Action speaks louder than words. We'll see when the time comes, you fat." Alongside the message, Arman posted a photo of Paddy, making it clear that he saw the remarks and is ready to respond in the octagon if the opportunity arises. His short but direct reply highlights his confidence and willingness to let performance speak louder than trash talk, keeping the tension between the two fighters very real and fans eagerly anticipating a possible showdown. Moving on to another news, Merab may have just hinted at one of the biggest potential matchups in the UFC. The idea of Ilia facing Islam Makhachev has been heavily debated across the MMA community, with fans split on whether Ilia's elite striking could be enough to stop Islam's dominant grappling and control. It has always felt like a dream matchup between striker and grappler, and now it seems that fight might be closer than expected. In a recent interview, Merab was asked to build his perfect UFC card. Without hesitation, he named Ilia versus Islam Makhachev. When pressed on whether he actually believes the fight will happen, Merab went a step further and revealed that he knows some details directly from Ilia. According to Merab, the matchup could come much sooner than people imagine, which immediately set off speculation online. This potential timeline lines up with comments from Dana White, who recently said fans want to see the winner of the Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett fight face Ilia next. Dana was careful with his wording, saying they would see how everything plays out throughout the year. That has led many to believe the UFC has multiple paths in mind, depending on how upcoming fights unfold. If Paddy ends up winning, the promotion seems interested in booking Ilia versus Paddy. However, if Justin Gaethje gets the victory, there is growing talk that Ilia could vacate his belt, move up in weight, and challenge Islam Makhachev. If that scenario plays out, Justin is reportedly hoping that Max Holloway defeats Charles Oliveira, defends the BMF belt, and then faces him in a massive fight at the White House. That matchup would potentially be for both the vacant lightweight title and the BMF belt at the same time. In a perfect world for fans, that could give us Ilia versus Islam and Justin versus Max on the same historic card. However, a reputable source close to Ilia pushed back on the idea of him being stripped. In an interview, it was stated that the UFC has no plans to take Ilia's title and is willing to give him all the time he needs. If necessary, the promotion would rather allow an interim title defense, showing strong faith in Ilia's status as a rising star. Going back to Merab, he also had extremely high praise for Ilia after spending time training with him. He said that after feeling Ilia's power, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu firsthand, he is convinced Ilia has a real chance to beat Islam, even if the fight takes place at welterweight. According to Merab, Ilia's combination of strength, technique, and uniqueness is something he has never experienced before, and that belief only grew stronger after returning from Spain. Moving on to another news, Nick Diaz is back on the mats and recently met Strickland for the first time. In a vlog posted on Jake Shields' YouTube channel, Diaz connected with the controversial Strickland at Extreme Couture MMA Gym in Las Vegas. The meeting was respectful, though Strickland, true to form, had some colorful comments throughout. During their time together, they shared a casual and friendly exchange. Diaz mentioned, "I live here," to which Strickland replied, "Oh no, bro, you're not in more often." Diaz responded, "Crazy, I'll be around." Strickland added, "That'd be awesome, man. I gotta get a roll with you, dude. Legend over here, guys. Crazy." Their conversation touched on age, training, and mutual respect, with Strickland noting, "I'm not that old, bro. Well, I'm not masking, bro. I'm on all these guys. Hey, all these guys, the brothers, bro, every time like you talk to them, they're always ready to scrap. Like, dude, I'm attacking you, bro." The conversation soon turned nostalgic, as Strickland admitted he grew up watching Diaz fight. "When I was a kid, I used to watch you, bro. I'd be in my boxer shorts in the living room watching you scrap. It was like, yeah. No, it's dope, dude. Now I watch you." Diaz agreed, "Like the perfect time. I live here." Strickland replied, "Oh no." In the vlog, Strickland also commented directly about his admiration, saying, "I remember being a little kid in the living room in boxers watching him scrap in Strikeforce. Legend. I'm not out to get you, man. Haha, I'm a fan." Their encounter highlighted the mutual respect and appreciation between two generations of fighters, blending nostalgia with the excitement of sharing the mat once again. Fans can watch the full interaction on Jake Shields' YouTube channel, with the link available in the video description. Moving on to another news, Mohammed Usman has officially been hit with a lengthy suspension that will keep him out of competition for more than 2 years. Back in October, it was first reported that Mohammed Usman, the brother of former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman, was removed from his scheduled fight at UFC Rio due to elevated testosterone levels. At the time, details were limited, but now an official update has been released, and the situation is far more serious than initially expected. Combat Sports Anti-Doping confirmed that Usman has accepted a suspension lasting 2 years and 6 months. According to the agency, the punishment was increased due to what they described as deceptive and obstructive conduct during the investigation process. The suspension is set to expire on April 9th, 2028, keeping Usman sidelined for a significant portion of his professional career. In their official statement, CSZ revealed that Us tested positive for testosterone, which is a prohibited substance at all times under the anabolic agents category on the UFC prohibited list. The positive result came from an out-of-competition sample collected on September 8th, 2025 in Coral Springs, Florida, USA. Usman's accepted suspension officially began on October 9th, 2025. That was the same day he was informed of the positive test result, removed from the Rio de Janeiro fight card, and provisionally suspended from competition. CSAD also explained that while Usman eventually took responsibility for the violation, he failed to do so in a timely manner. According to the agency, he only admitted to the prohibited conduct after being confronted with independently gathered evidence from a detailed investigation. That investigation reportedly uncovered not only the use of multiple prohibited substances, but also an attempt by Usman to mislead CSAD by providing a false explanation. Under standard rules, aggravating circumstances can result in a suspension being doubled. However, because Usman ultimately acknowledged his actions, CSAD determined that an additional 6 months added to the standard 2-year suspension was an appropriate penalty. The decision brings a difficult chapter for Mohammed Usman, as his return to the octagon will not come until 2028. Moving on to another news, Paddy Pimblett has sent a clear warning to Justin Gaethje ahead of their UFC 324 showdown next week. With most fighters already in Vegas for final preparations, Paddy held an open workout yesterday at the UFC Performance Institute and spoke to the media afterward. During the interview, he made it clear that his plan is to knock out Gaethje and that he has no intention of taking the fight to the ground. Despite that, Paddy emphasized that if the fight does end up on the mat, he is confident in his wrestling and scrambling abilities. He pointed out that Gaethje is an excellent scrambler with strong wrestling skills, but people often underestimate Paddy's own grappling. He referenced his unexpected takedown of Chandler in a previous fight as proof of his capabilities, and used it to highlight that he can handle the ground game if necessary. Paddy continued by stating that his main focus is striking, and he intends to engage Gaethje on the feet. He addressed the common perception of the fight as striker versus grappler, insisting that while there is a noticeable skill gap in grappling, the striking gap is much smaller. He criticized those who assume Gaethje will easily dominate him on the feet, promising to demonstrate the difference between a traditional striker and a well-rounded MMA striker. He mentioned his strengths in boxing and leg kicks, and emphasized that his striking skills are more than capable of matching up with Gaethje's. Paddy's confidence in his approach was evident throughout the interview, as he reinforced that his goal is to finish the fight standing. He maintained that his wrestling is a backup, but his striking is what will define the matchup. Fans are eagerly anticipating this battle of striking styles, and Paddy's message was clear. He intends to show just how dangerous an MMA striker can be, combining precision, power, and technique to put Gaethje away without relying on grappling. Moving on to another news, Dana White had nothing but praise for Merab, highlighting his activity level and how reliable he has been for the UFC. During a recent interview, Dana was asked whether Merab should take some time off or jump straight back into another fight. Dana made it clear that the decision is completely up to Merab. He mentioned that Merab probably should take a little time to relax, but at the same time described him as an absolute animal. Dana doubled down on that point, emphasizing just how dependable Merab really is. Dana went as far as saying that Merab is one of the most reliable fighters on the roster. According to him, he could literally call Merab in the middle of that interview and ask him to fight on short notice, and Merab would accept without hesitation. That kind of availability and toughness is something the UFC values highly, especially when building major events. As of now, Merab has not booked his next fight. A lot of that may be because he is waiting for a potential rematch with Petr Yan. However, there is also a real possibility that the UFC is keeping its options open. The promotion could be waiting to see how things play out in the upcoming fight between Sean O'Malley and Song Yadong, which is less than 2 weeks away. If Sean manages to win convincingly, it could open the door for a massive matchup between Sean and Petr Yan at the White House event. That scenario would make sense from a business perspective, especially since the UFC is reportedly looking to stack that card with recognizable American stars. In that context, a fight between Petr and Sean may generate more mainstream attention than a rematch between Petr and Rob. Even though Merab has been dominant and incredibly active, including multiple title defenses, the UFC often balances merit with star power. While Merab has clearly earned his spot at the top of the division through consistency and performance, Sean remains one of the promotion's biggest names. For a historic event like the White House card, excitement, marketability, and visibility could all play a major role in the final decision. For now, Merab continues to wait, staying ready as always, while the UFC evaluates its options and sees how the next key fights unfold. Moving on to another news. Conor McGregor has reacted after Dana White shut down his rumored fight. Yesterday, Dana went on an interview and made it clear that Conor versus Chandler is not happening at the UFC White House, describing the matchup as old news. While most fans might agree with Dana's statement, it is hard not to feel for Chandler, who has been waiting a long time for a fight with a star like Conor. Chandler has remained consistent over the past 2 years, continuously calling out Conor and staying active in his pursuit of a major payday. Up until recently, it seemed like Conor was still interested in the fight. He even poked fun at Chandler just days ago while calling out Floyd Mayweather, keeping fans excited about the potential matchup. Following Dana's comments, Conor reacted on social media with a now deleted tweet that read, "Pick who you want. The max sweats, nothing and nobody. I'm tasty shots." The tweet, brief as it was, showed Conor's usual confidence and readiness to fight, keeping the conversation alive despite Dana's dismissal. Dana is known for keeping fans guessing and sometimes denying fights to create surprise when official announcements drop. He has already stated that matchmaking for the White House card will begin after UFC 325 on January 31st, meaning the official announcements could start coming as soon as February. Whether Conor versus Chandler ultimately happens remains uncertain, but Dana is clearly trying to make fans believe the fight is no longer relevant. In reality, most MMA fans are eager to see Conor fight at least one more time before he retires. Michael Chandler presents an ideal opponent with a strong UFC record and enough credibility to make the fight competitive and marketable. The combination of Conor's star power and Chandler's consistency makes this a compelling matchup, even if Dana is currently downplaying. Fans will be watching closely in the coming weeks as the UFC begins to set its White House card, hoping for a major announcement that could bring Conor back into the octagon one more time. Moving on to another news, Dana White recently spoke with Complex and shared his thoughts on who could be Islam Makhachev's next opponent. During the interview, Dana emphasized that several factors need to play out before any official decisions can be made. Islam has expressed interest in facing Kamaru next, but Dana explained that it's not that simple. He said, "I don't know. We gotta see how some of this stuff plays out. Got to see when Topuria is coming back, what he wants to do." Dana continued by highlighting that, in a perfect world, Islam would fight one of the top contenders currently in line for the title. He also mentioned Khamzat, noting that his return timeline is another key element in determining matchups. According to Dana, there are still multiple moving parts in the lightweight division, and these variables must align before finalizing any fights. The UFC president made it clear that patience is necessary when mapping out Islam's next move, as the organization wants to ensure the matchup is both competitive and meaningful. Dana's comments reflect the careful planning involved in managing title contenders, balancing fighter availability, current rankings, and fan interest. While Islam's desire to face Kamaru is on record, Dana's explanation shows that the UFC is considering all options, including waiting on Topuria's return and assessing Khamzat's situation. Until these factors are clarified, the promotion will continue to evaluate the best path forward for the champion, ensuring that Islam's next fight is both high stakes and highly anticipated by fans around the world.